There are 10 billion ways to die in the 41st millennium, but the Tyranids have invented at least 1 million more that haven't made it into the tactical manuals yet. My name is Trooper Cain Valdris, 47th Cadian Shock Regiment, and I've been fighting the Great Devourer for 3 years, 2 months, and 16 days. That makes me practically ancient by Guard standards. Most of my kind don't see their second encounter with the Hive Fleets. If you crave more tales from the Dark Millennium, hit that subscribe button. The Emperor protects those who support the channel, and trust me, you'll need all the protection you can get for what's coming. I wake to the familiar vibration in my bones, that low-frequency thrum that means the bioships are still out there, hanging in orbit like rotten fruit ready to drop. The sensation never leaves you once you've felt it. It's like having a tuning fork struck against your spine every few seconds. Command calls it hive ship resonance, but we just call it the death hum. When you can feel it in your sleep, it means the swarm is close enough to taste your fear. My cot creaks as I roll over in the pre-dawn darkness of Bunker Complex Theta 7. The recycled air tastes of corpse starch rations and weapon oil, with just a hint of that sweet, cloying scent that means the atmospheric scrubbers are losing their battle against spore contamination. Again. 3 bunk levels stretch above and below me, each crammed with sleeping guardsmen who twitch and mutter in their dreams. We all have the same nightmares now. Chittering sounds in the dark, the wet tearing of flesh, and those alien screams that sound almost like laughter. Sergeant Korath's voice cuts through the murk like a chainsword through flesh. Rise and shine, you worthless grok spawn. The Emperor's enemies don't sleep, so neither do you. His augmetic leg whirs as he stamps between the bunks, the servo skull floating beside his shoulder, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Korath lost his original leg to a Carnifex's bone sword 3 months ago, but he was back on duty before the surgical incisions had fully healed. That's the Guard way. If you can still pull a trigger, you're still useful. I swing my legs over the edge of the cot and immediately feel the familiar weight of my flak armor as I strap it on. 43 kilograms of composite ceramic and plasteel that might, if the Emperor smiles, stop a gaunt's claws from reaching anything vital. The armor bears the scars of my service, a long gouge from a Hormagaunt's callons across the chest plate, laser burn marks from friendly fire incidents, and a spider web of stress fractures around the left shoulder where a warrior's bone sword nearly punched through. Each mark tells a story of how I managed to stay alive one more day. My lasgun slides into my hands with practiced ease, a Mars pattern M36 Cantrell with a bayonet lug that's seen more use than any guardsman should live to remember. The weapon's machine spirit has gotten to know me over the years. The trigger pull is exactly 2.3 kilograms. The barrel heats predictably after 37 shots, and the power pack lasts for 148 full power discharges before dropping to half strength. These details matter when you're facing an enemy that never stops coming. Outside, the morning sky of Hestian Prime burns orange-red through the atmospheric haze. The planet's twin suns rise like angry eyes over the skeletal remains of what used to be Hive Tertius. 3 billion people lived there once. Now it's a monument to chitin and bone. Every building transformed into something organic and wrong. The Tyranids don't just kill, they remake everything in their own image, turning entire worlds into living extensions of the hive mind. Patrol assignment, Valdris, Korath barks, thrusting a data slate into my hands. Intelligence reports possible Genestealer infiltration in the sublevels. Your squad draws the honor of first contact. The way he says honor makes it clear that first contact with Tyranids is usually the same as last contact with everything else. I glance at my squad mates as they gear up around me. Trooper Jenna Voss, our Vox operator, runs final checks on her communications array, a bulky backpack unit that weighs 30 kilograms but keeps us connected to the wider war effort. At least it does when the hive mind isn't jamming our signals with psychic interference. Trooper Marcus Thorne shoulders his heavy stubber, the belt-fed weapon capable of laying down suppressing fire that might actually slow down a charging swarm for a few precious seconds. And there's Trooper Darek Hash, our medic, whose skill with flesh-weave bandages and stim injections has kept us combat effective through encounters that should have left us all dead. We've been together for 8 months now, which makes us practically family by Guard standards. Most squads don't last 8 weeks against the Tyranids. As we march toward the transport, I feel that familiar tightening in my chest. Not fear, exactly, but the knowledge that this patrol might be the one where my luck finally runs out.
The Chimera's engine coughs to life with the distinctive rumble of a Mars-pattern power plant that's been pushed beyond its recommended service life. Inside the cramped troop compartment, we bounce and rattle as Corporal Hendricks navigates the rubble-strewn remains of what used to be Imperial Highway 7. Through the vision blocks, I watch the landscape scroll past, twisted metal sculptures that were once vehicles, fungal growths erupting from blast craters, and the occasional pile of bones picked so clean they gleam white in the morning light. Vox traffic's getting spotty, Jenna reports, adjusting the frequency dials on her communications array. Static bursts from the speaker, punctuated by fragments of transmissions. Contact lost with. Bioforms moving in. Emperor preserve us, they're in the... Then nothing but the hiss of white noise. The hive mind's psychic shadow is strengthening, which means we're getting closer to active infestation zones. Marcus checks his heavy stubber's ammunition feed for the 3rd time in 10 minutes. It's a nervous habit we've all developed. The constant verification that our weapons are ready, that our equipment won't fail us when the moment comes. His hands shake slightly as he counts rounds, and I don't blame him. Last week, his stubber jammed during a firefight with a pack of hormagaunts. Only Thorne's quick thinking with a frag grenade saved him from being torn apart. The Vox crackles to life suddenly, startling us all. Transport 77, this is Overwatch Command. New intelligence suggests possible bioform presence in your patrol sector. Maintain heightened alert status and report any anomalous readings immediately. The transmission cuts off before we can acknowledge. Anomalous readings, Derek mutters, checking his medical supplies, as if giant alien murder beasts qualify as anomalous at this point. He's got dark humor, our medic, but it helps keep the mood from getting too grim. When you're facing extinction daily, you learn to laugh at the absurdity of it all. The Chimera lurches to a halt, and Hendrix's voice echoes through the intercom. This is as far as mechanized transport goes, Trooper. The road ahead is completely blocked by what looks like, well, you'll see for yourselves. We dismount into the shadow of a massive organic growth that stretches across the highway like a diseased bridge. The structure pulses with a slow, rhythmic beat, a heart the size of a hab block, feeding something we can't see. Bioluminescent veins run through its surface, carrying nutrients to parts unknown. The air here tastes wrong, thick with spores that make our rebreather filters work overtime. Emperor's teeth, Jenna whispers, and I can't disagree with the sentiment. This is fresh growth. The Tyranids are actively reshaping the landscape, transforming Hestian Prime into something more suitable for their purposes. Within a few months, this entire continent will be unrecognizable. We advance in standard patrol formation, with Marcus and his heavy stubber covering our 6, Jenna maintaining Vox discipline despite the increasing static, and Derek keeping watch for the subtle signs of Tyranid bioorganisms. The man has an uncanny ability to spot camouflaged creatures before they strike. It's kept us alive more times than I can count. The first sign of trouble comes from my Auspex scanner, its screen flickering as it detects movement in the underground tunnels beneath our feet. The readings are chaotic, jumping between multiple contacts that appear and disappear like ghosts in the machine. But I know better to trust technology completely in Tyranid-infested zones. Their bioforms generate electromagnetic interference that can fool even the most sophisticated Imperial sensors. "Contact!" I whisper into the Vox, raising my fist to signal a halt. Multiple bioforms bearing 270, approximately 400 meters and closing. The Auspex shows at least a dozen signatures, but the interference makes it impossible to determine their exact nature or size. That's when we hear it, the sound that's haunted my nightmares for 3 years, the chittering. It starts low, almost below the threshold of human hearing, but builds rapidly into a symphony of alien voices, communicating in ways our minds aren't equipped to understand. It's the sound of the hive mind coordinating its children, preparing them for the hunt. Jenna tries the Vox again, but now there's nothing but screaming static. "Command, this is Patrol 77, requesting immediate support at grid reference." Her words are drowned out by psychic interference so intense that it makes our teeth ache. The chittering grows louder, and I can see movement in the shadows cast by the organic bridge above us. Dark shapes that don't move like any terrestrial creature, flowing across surfaces with liquid grace. My training kicks in, and I signal the squad to take defensive positions behind the wreckage of an overturned Lehman Russ tank that's been here so long it started growing fungal colonies. "Steady, lads," I call out, though my own voice sounds strange in my ears. "Remember your training. Overlapping fields of fire, controlled bursts, and whatever happens, we hold the line." The shadows are moving faster now, and I catch my first clear glimpse of what we're facing. Genestealers, the shock troops of the hive mind, bioengineered for close-quarters killing. Their four-armed silhouettes are unmistakable, and those elongated skulls that house brains dedicated entirely to murder and consumption. Marcus opens up with the heavy stubber, the weapon's bark echoing off the organic structures around us. Tracers streak through the air, and I see at least one of the creatures stumble, purple itcher spraying from wounds that would kill any human instantly. But it keeps coming, because that's what Tyranids do. They don't stop until they're dead, and sometimes not even then. My lasgun kicks against my shoulder as I pour fire into the advancing swarm. Each shot a prayer to the Emperor that this won't be the day my luck runs out.
The first Genestealer reaches our position in a blur of chitinous death that my eyes can barely track. It vaults over the Lehman Russ wreckage with impossible grace, forearms spread wide to reveal rending claws that gleam like surgical steel. My lasgun barks twice, the crimson beam scorching furrows across its carapace, but it doesn't even slow down. Derek throws himself sideways as those claws rake the air where his head was a heartbeat before. The medic rolls, comes up with his las pistol, and puts 3 shots center mass into the creature's torso. Purple ichor spatters across the rusted tank hull, but the Genestealer just hisses and prepares to pounce again. That's when Marcus saves all our lives with a controlled burst from his heavy stubber. The mass reactive rounds punch through the creature's chest cavity, reducing its vital organs to purple soup. It collapses in a heap of twitching limbs, but I can already see more shadows moving in the organic growths above us. "They're coming from multiple vectors," Jenna shouts over the Vox static, her voice pitched high with adrenaline. "Thermal signatures all around us. Emperor's throne, there's at least 30 of them." I key my microbead, hoping against hope that someone in command is still monitoring our frequency.
Mayday! Mayday! Patrol 77 is engaged with multiple Genestealer contacts at grid reference Sigma 14. Request immediate extraction and heavy support. The only response is a burst of psychic interference so intense it feels like needles being driven into my brain. The second wave hits us like a living avalanche. 3 Genestealers drop from the organic bridge overhead, their alien shrieks mixing with the wet sounds of rending claws meeting flak armor. I hear Marcus scream as one of them gets inside his firing arc, its primary arms wrapping around his torso, while the secondary pair goes to work with surgical precision. I put a lasbolt through the creature's skull, but it's too late for Marcus. His heavy stubber falls silent as he collapses, crimson spreading across the ground beneath him. 23 years old, with a sweetheart back on Cadia and dreams of making sergeant. Now he's just meat for the bio ships. Fall back to secondary position, I bellow, emptying my power pack into another Genestealer that's trying to flank us. The creature staggers but keeps coming, purple ichor streaming from multiple las wounds. These things are engineered to keep fighting even when they should be dead. Ammo check, I call out during a brief lull in the fighting. 2 power packs left, Jenna responds, her breathing labored. 3 packs, 4 grag grenades, Derek adds, though I can see blood seeping through his fatigues where a Genestealer's claws found gaps in his armor. I look at my own remaining supplies, 1 full power pack and 1 at half charge. Against a swarm of Genestealers, it might as well be harsh language and prayer. Still, we're not dead yet, which means we can still fight. That's when I see them moving through the shadows ahead of us, the unmistakable silhouettes of Astarte's power armor. 3 Space Marines from the Crimson Fist chapter, their blue ceramite scored by battle damage, but still intact. Hope flares in my chest like an ignited promethium tank. Emperor be praised, I whisper, keying the Vox. Astarte's forces, this is ASTRA Militarum Patrol 77. We are combat ineffective and require immediate assistance. The lead Marine turns towards us, his helmet sensor array sweeping our position. When he speaks, his Vox-amplified voice carries the absolute authority of the Emperor's finest. Acknowledged, Guardsman. Form up behind us and maintain disciplined fire. The Emperor protects. For a moment, I actually believe we might survive this encounter. Space Marines are living legends, engineered warriors capable of feats that defy human understanding. If anyone can get us out of this nightmare alive, it's them. The Genestealers seem to sense the new threat, their chittering growing more frantic as they prepare for another assault. But now we have the Adeptus Astartes with us. Now we have hope. If you're still with us in this darkness, hit that like button, because what happens next will test even the Emperor's finest.
Brother Sergeant Alves of the Crimson Fists raises his Stormbolter, the weapon's twin barrels gleaming in the filtered sunlight. Stay close, Guardsman. We advance to extraction point Alpha 7. His voice carries the absolute confidence of a warrior who has never known defeat, who believes in the certainty of Imperial victory through superior firepower and unwavering faith. I want to share that confidence. For 30 seconds, watching the Space Marines move with practiced precision through the ruins, I actually do. The Genestealers hit us like a living wave of death, pouring from every shadow and crevice in numbers that make our previous encounters look like training exercises. Brother Alves' Stormbolter roars to life, mass reactive rounds tearing through alien flesh with devastating effect. His battle brothers advance in perfect formation, Brother Matthias with his plasma gun carving through clustered bioforms,
Brother Tancred's power sword crackling with energy as it cleaves through chitinous carapaces. For a moment, it looks like the propaganda vids were right. The Astartes cut through the swarm like the Emperor's own wrath made manifest, their superhuman reflexes and centuries of combat experience giving them an almost preternatural ability to anticipate and counter every alien attack. But the Tyranids learn. That's what makes them so terrifying. Every engagement teaches the hive mind how to better kill its enemies. And the hive mind has been studying space marines for decades. The lictor drops from the organic bridge overhead, its chameleon-like scales having kept it hidden until this moment. 3 meters of pure predator, evolved specifically to hunt the Imperium's elite warriors. Its bone sword punches through Brother Matthias's power armor like it was paper, the monomolecular edge finding the weak point where chest plate meets shoulder guard with surgical precision. Brother Matthias staggers but doesn't fall, his enhanced physiology allowing him to function even with a meter of alien bone protruding from his torso. The plasma gun whines as it overcharges, building to a lethal discharge that will incinerate everything in a 10-meter cone. But the lictor's secondary arms are already moving, flesh hooks emerging to entangle the weapon's power conduits. The plasma gun explodes in a miniature sun of superheated gas, taking Brother Matthias and the lictor with it. The shockwave sends me sprawling behind a chunk of rubble, my ears ringing from the concussion. When the afterimages fade from my retinas, I see Brother Alves and Brother Tancred still standing, but their perfect formation is broken. That's when the real swarm arrives. Hormagaunts pour through the ruins like a chittering flood, their scything talons designed for one purpose: to strip flesh from bone as quickly and efficiently as possible. Behind them come the larger forms, warriors with bone swords and living ammunition, a Carnifex whose biocannon charges with ominous purpose, and something I've only heard described in tactical briefings: a hive tyrant, its psychic presence like a weight on my soul. Brother Tancred's power sword flickers and dies as psychic interference disrupts its energy field. A warrior's bone sword, guided by the hive tyrant's alien intelligence, finds the gap between his helmet and gorget with impossible precision. Ceramitite racks, blood sprays. The space marine who seemed invincible seconds before crumples to the ground, his gene-enhanced organs no match for biotechnology that has consumed 1,000 worlds. Brother Sergeant Alves stands alone now, his stormbolter clicking empty as the swarm engulfs him. I watch through the scope of my lasgun as a dozen Genestealers drag him down through sheer weight of numbers. His death scream is lost in the alien chittering, but it echoes in my mind long after the sound fades. "They killed the Astartes," Jenna whispers, her voice hollow with disbelief. "They actually killed Space Marines." Derek says nothing, but I can see the same realization in his eyes that's burning in my chest like acid. If the Emperor's finest warriors can't stand against this swarm, what hope do we have? We're just mortals with flashlights and cardboard armor, facing enemies that were birthed from the nightmares of a galaxy-spanning superorganism. The hive tyrant turns its attention to us, and I feel its alien mind pressing against my consciousness like a living thing. Images flash through my thoughts, memories of home, of the woman I left behind on Cadia, of the simple dream of living long enough to see another sunrise. The creature is reading me, learning from my fears and desires, adding my experiences to the vast repository of knowledge that guides the Great Devourer. "Run," I manage to croak, though my legs feel like they're made of lead. But where can we go? The ruins stretch in every direction, and every shadow might hide another killer. The bioships still hang in orbit, their psychic presence growing stronger by the hour. Soon this entire continent will be transformed into something alien and wrong.
another stepping stone in the Tyranids' slow consumption of the galaxy. Still, we run, because that's what guardsmen do. We follow orders, hold the line, and die with lasguns in our hands rather than surrender to the darkness. Even when the darkness has already won, even when the Emperor's finest have fallen before us, we keep fighting because it's all we know how to do. The comment section is probably lighting up with theories about our fate. Drop your predictions below, but remember that in the 41st millennium, hope itself is just another word for delayed disappointment.
We stumble through the ruins like ghosts, our ammunition nearly depleted, and our faith hanging by threads thinner than spider silk. The shadows seem alive now, writhing with movement that might be alien hunters, or might just be the hallucinations that come with prolonged exposure to the hive mind's psychic emanations. My hands shake as I check my final power pack. The energy cell indicator shows less than 20% charge remaining. 23 shots. That's all that stands between me and the digestive pools. Derek collapses against the twisted remains of what used to be a shrine to the Emperor, his breathing labored and shallow. The Genestealer wounds on his side have stopped bleeding, but I can see the telltale signs of alien toxins working through his system. The pale skin, the dilated pupils, the way his hands tremble with barely controlled spasms. Our medic is dying, and there's nothing his training can do about it. "How much farther to the extraction point?" Jenna asks, though we all know the answer. Her Vox equipment crackles with nothing but static and the occasional fragment of screams from other units that didn't make it. The command structure has collapsed completely. There is no extraction point. There never was. I look at my Auspex scanner, its screen flickering as it tries to process movement signatures that defy Imperial technology. The readings show bioforms closing in from all sides, a tightening noose of chitin and hunger that will strangle us within the next few minutes. We're cornered in what used to be a commercial district, surrounded by the calcified remains of shops and hab blocks that the Tyranids have transformed into something resembling the inside of a digestive tract. "Contact," I whisper, raising my lasgun toward a shadow that moves wrong. The creature that emerges from the organic growth is something I've never seen in any tactical manual. A hybrid of Genestealer and something else, its elongated skull bearing sensory organs that pulse with bioluminescent patterns. It tilts its head at us with predatory curiosity, as if we're specimens in some vast alien laboratory. Behind it come the others, Hormagaunts with their scything talons, Genestealers moving with liquid grace, and something massive that makes the ground shake with each step. A Carnifex, its biocannon already charging with the distinctive whine that means certain death for anything caught in its firing arc. I empty my last gun's power pack into the hybrid creature, watching crimson beams scorch its carapace without doing any meaningful damage. The creature doesn't even flinch, it just continues studying us with those alien eyes, transmitting our location and tactical capabilities back to the hive mind through psychic channels I can't even comprehend. "This is it," Derek says, his voice surprisingly calm for a man who's about to die. "At least we held the line as long as we could." He raises his last pistol with shaking hands, and I can see him making calculations, how many shots he has left, which of us he should save a bolt for when the pain becomes too much to bear. Jenna's Vox equipment squeals with feedback, and for a moment I hear something impossible, a human voice cutting through the psychic static. "Hold fast at checkpoint Omega!
Armored support inbound! For the love of the throne, someone respond! Then nothing but the familiar hiss of white noise. The Carnifex takes a step forward, its massive bulk casting a shadow over our position. Bioacids drip from its maw, eating through rockcrete and metal with casual ease. When those jaws close around me, I'll have perhaps 3 seconds of consciousness before the digestive enzymes reduce my brain to soup. 3 seconds to remember home. 3 seconds to think about the woman I left behind, who might already be dead in another Tyranid attack on another world. 3 seconds to wonder if anything I've done in this war has made even the smallest difference in humanity's long slide toward extinction. I look at my squad mates, what's left of them, and see the same grim acceptance in their eyes. We're Cadian born and Cadian bred, raised to die with weapons in our hands for the glory of the God Emperor. If this is how our story ends, at least we'll face it standing. For Cadia, I whisper, chambering my final power cell. For the Emperor, Jenna responds, keying her vox one last time in the hope that someone, somewhere, might hear our final transmission. For humanity, Derek adds, though his voice is barely audible now. The bioforms surge forward in a wave of alien death, their chittering rising to a crescendo that drowns out even the sound of my own heartbeat. I raise my last gun, knowing it's futile, knowing that 23 shots won't even slow them down, but firing anyway, because it's what guardsmen do. We hold the line. Even when the line is about to be overrun, even when hope is just a 4-letter word for delayed suffering, we hold the line, because someone has to. Because if we don't, who will? The first shot takes down a Hormigaunt. 22 left. The Carnifex opens its maw, revealing rows of teeth designed to process human bone into calcium supplements for the Hive Fleet. I can see my reflection in those alien eyes, a tiny figure in tattered flak armor, holding a weapon that might as well be a pointed stick against the unstoppable hunger of the Great Devourer. 21 shots remaining. Time to find out what it really means to serve the Emperor.
The Carnifex's biocannon discharges with a sound like tearing reality. The living projectile streaks past my head, close enough that I can smell the organic compounds cooking in its wake. And where it impacts the shrine behind us, rockcrete simply ceases to exist. Not destroyed, dissolved. Reduced to component molecules that the Tyranid bioforms will later recycle into more weapons, more hunters, more death. I fire my 21st shot into the creature's primary sensory cluster, the last beam scorching a crater in its chitinous skull that would have killed any terrestrial animal instantly. The Carnifex doesn't even slow down. It just adjusts its aim for the next shot, learning from my attack pattern, adapting to neutralize whatever minor threat I might represent. That's when I hear it. The distinctive whine of Valkyrie engines approaching fast and low. Through the organic canopy above us, I catch a glimpse of Imperial Navy aircraft diving through the spore clouds, their twin-linked las cannons already firing into the bioforms below. Hope flares in my chest like a struck match, brief and desperate. "Extraction bird inbound!" Jenna shouts over her vox, tears streaming down her face as she raises the signal beacon with shaking hands. "Guard frequency 77 Alpha. This is what's left of Patrol 77. We are 3 effectives at grid Sigma 16, surrounded by heavy bioform concentration." The pilot's voice crackles through the static, clipped and professional despite the chaos around us.
Copy that, 7-7. I see you. Pop smoke and prepare for combat extraction in 30 seconds. This is going to be very hot and very fast. I fumble for my smoke grenades with fingers that feel like they belong to someone else, my training taking over even as my conscious mind struggles to process the possibility of survival. Yellow smoke billows around our position, marking us for pickup while also giving the Tyranids a clear target to focus their attention on. The Valkyrie comes in like the Emperor's own wrath, its heavy bolters stitching lines of explosive death through the swarming bioforms. I watch a Genestealer simply vanish in a spray of purple ichor as mass reactive rounds tear it apart at the molecular level. For a moment, the alien advance falters as they attempt to process this new threat with their distributed intelligence. But the hive mind learns fast. Too fast. The hybrid creature I wounded earlier raises some kind of bioweapon that wasn't there a moment before. A living artillery piece that sprouts from its shoulder like a cancerous growth. The projectile it launches isn't visible to human eyes, but I watch the Valkyrie's starboard engine simply stop working. No explosion, no fire. It just dies, as if something has eaten its machine spirit from the inside out. The aircraft tilts, fighting for altitude, as the pilot struggles with controls that are no longer responding properly. Mayday, Mayday, this is Extraction 7 Alpha. We are taking bioweapon fire and losing power. I can give you maybe 10 seconds on the ground before we have to abort. 10 seconds. Not enough time to climb the drop line they're already deploying. Not enough time to secure our gear or perform proper evacuation procedures. Just enough time to grab whoever we can and hope the Emperor smiles on fools and guardsmen. Derek tries to stand, but his legs give out beneath him. The alien toxins have spread too far through his system. Even if we could get him to a proper Medicae facility, the damage might be irreversible. He looks up at me with eyes that have already accepted his fate. "Go," he whispers, pressing his remaining stim injectors into my hands. "Someone needs to report what happened here. Someone needs to remember Marcus and the others." I want to argue. Want to drag him to the extraction line by force if necessary, but there's no time. The bioforms are already adapting to the Valkyrie's fire patterns, using the organic structures for cover as they close in on our position. In seconds, they'll be close enough for close combat, and then all the air support in the sector won't save us. Jenna reaches the line first, her Vox equipment abandoned as she clips into the safety harness. I'm right behind her, my last gun finally clicking empty as I fire my last shot into a hormigaunt that gets too close. The creature staggers but keeps coming, its scything talons reaching for the drop line as the Valkyrie begins to lift off. Below us, Derek raises his last pistol one final time. Not at the aliens, but at himself. The shot is lost in the chaos of alien shrieks and aircraft engines. But I understand. Better a clean death than the digestive pools. Better to die human than to feed the Great Devourer. As we climb toward the relative safety of the aircraft's troop compartment, I look down at the ruins that have consumed my squad, my friends, my brothers in arms. The bioforms are already moving past our former position, flowing like a living tide toward whatever target the hive mind has selected next. In an hour, there will be no trace that we were ever here. In a day, this entire sector will be transformed into something alien and wrong. The Valkyrie turns toward the evacuation zone, its damaged engine trailing smoke as it limps through the spore-filled sky. Through the cockpit window, I can see the pilot's face. Grim determination mixed with the kind of exhaustion that comes from ferrying the last survivors out of hell, day after day, until there are no more survivors to save. "What's the tactical situation?" I ask the crew chief, though I'm not sure I want to hear the answer. He doesn't meet my eyes. Command's pulled back to the final defensive line. We're evacuating all non-essential personnel to the orbital stations. He pauses, then adds quietly, "Word is the Admiralty's considering Exterminatus protocols if the situation deteriorates further." Exterminatus. The complete sterilization of an entire world, turning billions of lives into radioactive ash rather than let them feed the Tyranid advance. It's the Imperium's final solution when all else fails, and the fact that they're considering it means we've already lost. I close my eyes and try not to think about what this means for the woman I left behind on Cadia, for the billions of other human souls scattered across the galaxy. We held the line as long as we could, but the line is breaking everywhere now. The Great Devourer grows stronger with each world it consumes, and humanity grows weaker with each defeat. Still, we fought. We held our ground and made them pay for every meter in blood and chitin. That has to count for something, doesn't it?
The orbital defense station rotates slowly against the star field, its massive bulk scarred by countless impacts from Tyranid bioweapons. Through the observation deck's armored glass, I watch the planet below die in real time. Hestian Prime burns with unnatural fires, its continents transforming from familiar browns and greens into the sickly purple-black of Tyranid biomatter. 3 billion souls lived down there just 6 months ago. Now it's becoming something else entirely, a nursery world for the next generation of bioships, a link in the endless chain of consumption that stretches across the galaxy. Jenna sits beside me in the Medicae ward, her hands wrapped around a cup of recaf that's gone cold hours ago. She hasn't spoken since the debrief, since she had to explain to command how an entire regiment got reduced to 2 survivors and a bag of dog tags. The guilt eats at her. I can see it in her eyes. The survivor's curse that asks, why us? Why not them? What made us special enough to live when better soldiers died? I know the answer, of course. Nothing made us special. We lived because the Valkyrie pilot was skilled enough to thread the needle between biocannon fire and organic spore towers. We lived because a medic chose to die with dignity rather than slow down our escape. We lived because of 1,000 small chances and random variables that could have gone the other way in an instant. The door to the observation deck opens, and Admiral Cassad enters with the measured pace of a man who's seen too many worlds die. His uniform bears the campaign ribbons of a dozen Tyranid incursions, each one a monument to lives spent like currency in humanity's desperate war for survival. He doesn't look at us directly. Survivors make senior officers uncomfortable, I think, because we're reminders of how thin the line really is between victory and extinction. "The Inquisition wants to debrief you both," he says quietly. "There are questions about what you witnessed down there, the bioforms you encountered, their adaptation patterns, and the failure of our tactical doctrines." He pauses, staring out at the dying world below. Every piece of intelligence matters now. Every lesson learned in blood might save the next world, or the one after that. I nod, understanding the weight of what he's not saying. Our experiences, our trauma, our memories of watching friends die, it's all data now. Information to be processed and filed away in the vast archives of Imperial military doctrine. Marcus's death will become a footnote in some tactical manual about heavy weapon deployment. Derek's sacrifice will be reduced to a case study in combat triage procedures. The Space Marines who fell will be analyzed for weaknesses in Astartes' equipment and training. That's how the Imperium works. Every defeat teaches us something. Every loss makes us marginally better prepared for the next encounter. It's a learning curve written in blood and measured in centuries. And the only question is whether we'll learn fast enough to matter. Sir, Jenna speaks for the first time in hours, her voice barely above a whisper. What happens to Hestian Prime now? Admiral Kassad doesn't answer immediately. He's watching something through the observation glass, massive shapes moving through the planet's upper atmosphere, bioships the size of continents beginning their final approach. The harvest is about to begin in earnest, the process by which an entire world's biomass gets processed into fuel for the next stage of the Great Devourer's expansion. Exterminatus protocols have been authorized, he says finally. Cyclonic torpedoes will be deployed within the next 6 hours. We can't let them complete the harvest. Every pound of organic matter they consume makes the Hive Fleet stronger for the next system. He turns to look at us directly for the first time. I'm sorry. I know there are still people down there, still pockets of resistance holding out in the deep bunkers. But we can't save them. All we can do is deny the enemy their prize. 3 billion lives reduced to acceptable losses in a strategic calculation. It's the arithmetic of the 41st millennium. Better to kill our own people than let them feed our enemies. Better to rule over radioactive ash than let alien horrors transform our worlds into nurseries for nightmare. I think about the woman I left behind on Cadia, wonder if she's still alive, if she thinks about me when the bioships appear in her sky. I think about Marcus, who never got to see his sweetheart again, who died with a Genestealer's claws in his chest because someone had to carry the heavy stubber. I think about Derek, who chose his own death rather than become food for monsters, and gave me his last stim injectors because someone needed to survive to tell the story. This is what it means to be a guardsman in the 41st millennium. Not glory or heroism or any of the propaganda nonsense they feed to new recruits. Just the grinding certainty that you'll die for strangers on a world you've never seen, fighting enemies that want to eat your bones and use your memories to become better killers. You'll die badly, probably alone, and the galaxy will be exactly as dark and terrible after your death as it was before your birth. But you'll die standing. You'll hold the line, not because you think it matters, but because holding the line is what guardsmen do. You'll fire your last shot, not because you believe it will make a difference, but because someone has to fire it. And maybe, in some small way, that's enough. Maybe the act of resistance itself matters more than its outcome. The Emperor protects, they say. But I know better now. The Emperor doesn't protect anyone. We protect each other, one last stand at a time, buying seconds and minutes and hours with our lives until time itself runs out. That's the real prayer of the Imperial Guard. Not protect us, but let us protect them. In the darkness between stars, the Tyranid Hive Fleets continue their slow advance toward Terra. They'll reach it eventually, maybe in 100 years, maybe in 1,000. When they do, they'll find guardsmen waiting for them with las guns and flak armor and hearts full of stubborn human defiance. And we'll hold the line then too,
even if it's the last line in the galaxy. Because that's what we do. That's what we are. That's all we have left. The Emperor protects, but sometimes the Emperor needs guardsmen to do the protecting for him.